Okay, gang, welcome to week 4. I can't believe we're already on week 4. So we're almost halfway through the class. These classes just fly by. Let's go ahead and jump into the learning activities. So I will be looking at your outlines. My goal is to actually have them all done tomorrow. That way you have the rest of the week to finish your actual paper, to apply that feedback. If you have any questions, make sure you let me know. But this week we're talking about this idea of reality in art. And so what we're going to be looking at in our reading is in the visual culture text, you're reading chapter 8, photography, and chapter 9 on film. So some interesting chapters. These are, of course, very relevant in today's culture. And I want you to really be considering how the information can be applied, especially to things like social media and just new media in general. We're going to be looking more at new media later on in the session. So if you have any questions while you're doing this reading, please don't hesitate to ask me. We do have a discussion board this week. So again, what is reality? So I want you to read, especially in chapter 8, where this is going to be about photography, and then I've given you a couple of clips. So you want to watch this clip on photographer Jeff Wall by clicking here, and then watch the one on Cindy Sherman here. This is the section on Cindy Sherman, and it starts at about 15 minutes and 30 seconds into the episode that you're going to be watching, and it ends about 34 minutes 50 seconds. But the whole episode is really good. So I encourage you to watch the whole thing, but you only have to watch this section on Cindy Sherman for this assignment. And then I want you to answer the following questions. So what is reality? Is reality interpretive? Is there one concrete reality, or is it different based on our cultural context, the way we view the world? So this word reality is kind of an interesting term. Do you believe it is the photographer's job to represent said reality? Why or why not? So use evidence from the text to support your opinion here. And question 3, how do Jeff Wall and Cindy Sherman blur the lines of reality in photography? So then comment on at least one of your peers' posts. So what did you think about these two photographers' work is an example of a question you might want to ask them. Make sure you're engaging here. These are discussion boards after all. I'm looking 2 to 4 sentences in length for each of these questions. And of course, you'll be graded on participation. Be sure to ask questions and answer when asked. So that is your discussion board for the week. We also have our second create assignment. Yay! This one is a self-portrait project. And in this assignment, you will use a camera to create 3 self-portraits. You may use anything from a film camera to a high-resolution camera phone. Each image is going to be accompanied by 3 reflections. So reflections don't need to be long. I'm again looking 2 to 4 sentences per question is appropriate. And so the first portrait we're calling honesty. So the idea of this portrait is to be as honest as possible. So set up a simple background and photograph yourself as clearly and honestly as possible. So really think, what am I wanting the audience to see here? Am I trying to get them to interpret me in a certain way, or am I really trying to be as point blank as I can? You might choose to do this portrait in black and white. You might smile, you might have a straight face. And then I want you to answer these questions. So what makes this portrait an honest representation of who you are? How did this portrait make you feel? Does it make you feel empowered? Maybe it makes you feel really vulnerable if you're trying to really be honest and straightforward here. How might this portrait be an example of this whole term, the camera never lies, right? That's something we've always heard this saying. So how might that be an example? And then your second portrait is expressive. So the idea of this portrait is kind of the opposite of the honest one. It's to represent your unique personality. You might put on a costume or photograph yourself in your favorite place or during your favorite hobby. The point of this portrait is to be creative and represent yourself, creatively represent yourself, excuse me. And then I want you to answer the following question. So again, what are you trying to express about yourself in this portrait? How does this one make you feel? How might this portrait be an example of the term reality versus imagination? Or excuse me, not the term, but this debate that happens in our reading and that we're going to kind of be talking about in the discussion board and with the photographers, Jeff Wall and Cindy Sherman as well. So really kind of pull that discussion in this expressive portrait here. And portrait number 3 is objects. So the idea of this portrait is to represent your essence without actually being a picture of your face. So you might photograph your hands during some activity or compile your favorite objects together as a still life. The point here is to create a more abstract representation of yourself that still captures who you are. And so again, what are you trying to express about yourself in this portrait? How did the portrait make you feel? And how might this portrait be an example of the saying, a picture is worth 1,000 words, right? Another term we've heard for years and years. So this is done as a blog entry, so it's important that you embed each of your portraits into the blog entry. Please don't submit attachments here, so do it right in the blog post. You do not need to submit any attachments. Again, simply use the text editor. Be sure to label each image clearly. And please format written responses by putting the questions before the answers. So this is an example. You can see how I've labeled this one portrait 2, expressive. This is a picture of me. And so what are you trying to express about yourself in this portrait? So put the question and then your answer. So just format it like this. So please note, while I by no means expect you to be professional photographers, I expect you to put some time and thought into your portraits. Don't give me a vacation picture from last year. I want these to be pictures you take for this assignment. So don't give me, a cop out and, oh, this is, I'll be able to tell if they're pictures that you didn't just take for this assignment. So be creative. Try and, be a photographer here. Think about lighting. Think about composition. Take some pride in your work. Again, I want images, to be clear. Unless you're intentionally blurring them, like this portrait that I did. This is, driving, so I wanted it to have this feeling of motion. So that was very intentional. It was an artistic choice. But, make sure that if that's not an artistic choice, that your pictures, that they're not just blurry. Don't just snap something very quickly. Put some time and effort. I want some, quality to your work here, so take pride. So since this is our first blog entry, all you have to do is hit click to launch up here at the top, and there's no blog entries, of course, at this point, so your instructions will be here again, and then you hit create blog entry. It's very much just like a discussion board or a journal. Give it a title. Here's your text editor. Remember, this button is your best friend right now because you want to embed your images. So you insert/edit image this way. You hit that and it'll pop up a big window. You can browse your computer, attach an image. You can change the appearance, if you want to make the image smaller, all that good stuff. So make sure that you are using that. You do not need to use this at all for this assignment. I want everything right there because when someone opens a blog post, that way everything is right there for them. They're not having to download anything, and that way you and your peers, you can kind of browse through each other's portraits and take a look. Feel free to comment. You're not graded on participation on this, but it's encouraged. Okay, so let's go back to the learning activities and get to our theory application paper. Here we go. So you've been working towards this for the last several weeks. We've selected our images. We've written our outlines, which of course I'll be looking at over the next couple of days. Remember, this is a 6 to 8 page theory application paper. Let me give you a hint here. 6 to 8 pages means 6 to 8 pages of text. It doesn't mean 6 to 8 pages with a starting, your first page halfway down the page. That doesn't count as a full page. What I encourage you to do is write out your paper without any of the images, without any indentations, or from the very start, with your title page, you'll have your title page, and then you'll have that first page. Write 6 to 8 pages of text, then format it. So your paper will probably be longer, but the actual text is, you're going to be giving me that 6 to 8 pages of body of the text that I'm looking for. So this is due at the end of this week, finally. So you've already selected your images, one realistic, naturalistic, one abstract. So we're talking about imitation of reality here versus something that is simplifying, distorting, all that kind of stuff that we talked about with abstraction. Of course, we know not to select examples from the text, which none of you, I believe, did. And so I've given you examples here. We have a scene of a church in the evening out in the European countryside in both of these scenes. Body of paper. So remember, part 1, we're looking for Panofsky's 3-point system of deciphering meaning. Part 2 is all about Roger Fry. And here's your formatting guidelines. This is what I want to draw your attention to in this week's overview. Your paper should be formatted according to MLA or APA standards. See the style guides. They're in the learning activities. Pick one and just stick with it. I don't care which one you use. MLA is usually what we use more in the humanities, but I know a lot of you in the departments that you're in, you use APA a lot, and that's what you're comfortable with, and that's fine with me. So make sure that you include your 2 chosen images embedded into your paper with captions. We've been practicing that. They include proper citations. So again, see that writing styles presentation. We're looking for artist name, title of work. It says in quotes or italics. I prefer it in italics. The year it was created, the medium, and the source, which is the full web address of your image. So remember that these must come from museum websites, so we want good quality images here. Okay, I want research from a minimum of 3 different sources. One can be the textbook, cited appropriately in a works cited section at the end of the paper. So that's, again, where you want to refer to your MLA, APA style guides. Citations within the body of the text where appropriate. So I want in-text citations. Here's the rule with in-text citations. When in doubt, cite it. If it's not something that's common knowledge, the sky is blue, the grass is green, you know, that kind of thing, maybe some very common dates, then it needs to be cited. So you can look in the MLA and APA style guides. There's a couple different ways that you can do it. But just know that, you know, if it's any research that's not coming from your own thought process in your own brain, just put an in-text citation, and especially if you're using any quotes, they need to be cited as well. And those would then need to be in your works cited section. Footnotes are really great ideas too. Remember that first-person narrative voice is not appropriate for formal papers. No I, me, my, I thought, what I felt, my interpretation, you know, none of that here. This is a formal academic paper, so we have our journals, our discussion boards, our, you know, blogs, all that kind of stuff for that type of thing. So this is, we want to be formal academic research-based analyzing papers here. Be sure to proofread. If you feel that your writing needs further assistance, please send your paper through Tutoring Online. So you have to just go up here. It's under, yeah, right there, Tutoring Online, this tab. If you just open that up, it will take you to a link, and you can submit your paper to be proofread by a university tutor. And I'm willing to grant extensions for those of you that use this service. You just need to let me know. Okay, so there's the, you know, privacy statement, all that good stuff. So here, you don't need to worry about the right submission. Go ahead and attach. Don't worry about comments, all that good stuff. And that's how you submit these. This actually is going to be ran through SafeAssign as well, so it'll do that automatically for you. And that is going to check for plagiarism, so make sure that you are citing sources if you're quoting anything, and that you're not just copying and pasting text, because I will catch you. Any questions about this assignment, please let me know. Make sure that when you get your outlines back from me, so be checking, you know, in a couple days for those, that you're applying that feedback that I give you. That's one of the biggest things that I look for. Also, make sure that you view the rubric, so go ahead and open this rubric. This is what I will be using for grading your work here. So there's a section on formatting and then a section on content. So if you want, you know, any further information on what I'm looking for, email me. I am here to help. So I canceled the quiz this week. Yay, we have another canceled assignment. So you have 3 things due this week. You've got your discussion board, you've got your self-portrait assignment, and your theory application paper, which if you did your job on your outline, it should pretty much write itself. Okay, everyone, have a good week.